Yo, what is going on? It's your boy Carspec. Welcome to this video. We're back on a very nostalgic game actually of mine. Back when my channel was very low in terms of subscribers and everything. And honestly, I can't think this game any more than what it did to my channel. So we're playing Need for Speed Unbound, ladies and gentlemen. Playing Need for Speed Unbound. This game has done a lot for my channel in terms of growth, and I just want to play, you know. So we're just gonna do just a PvP tier 8. Let's see what goes down. We're gonna start with the car that I kind of started with this game. Yeah, we're just gonna play it, man. We're gonna talk about the game and stuff. It's not gonna be much content in this video. This is more of a revisiting type of video, so we're gonna leave it there. Few people's banners and stuff. This guy is like the top of the top. This person as well, kinda. Yeah, there's a lot of things with this game, man. I remember, like, you just make your own kind of profiles and stuff. Obviously, this is mine, which is pretty nice, I think. But yeah, we're gonna start with the 190E. It's gonna be a little bit different now because I now have a monitor. I'm no longer playing on a TV, and I haven't played this game in a while either. And I turned the dead zone lower because I'm using a wire controller, so it's gonna be a little bit, yeah. We'll see how things go though. Yeah, very more. Oh yeah, so like this game, man, kind of just jump started my progression of the channel, like proper progression in terms of like gaining subs and gaining retention. During the start of 2022, right, it was a little bit tough. I was still making my usual content I was making with the past 2 years before that, so 2019 to 2021. I wasn't really getting anywhere. So the first couple, bit of 2022 was rough up until we heard about this game, and which is like October of 2022 for some reason, because they didn't want to promote it for multiple reasons that I'm not getting into. But yeah, they decided to just get rid of it, or sorry, not promote it until October 2022, in which they decided that it's time to promote it. And so I decided I said to myself, one video popped off of this year was mainly talking about like the state of Forza Horizon. I remember, in which I was like, okay, let me capitalize fully on Unbound. Let me capitalize fully on this game, else the channel is not gonna go anywhere, right? And it was kind of like convenient because that was when I was able to get a new phone, in which that allowed me to do more with videos, to make longer form content, so on, in which I did. And here we are with almost 1,000 subs. We're getting there, right, this year, hopefully. But it's great stuff, man. Like, it's good to know your roots from half of the time, right? But we're gonna pick another car. if I have another car in this class. I don't remember. We have this R32, but I don't know if it's Break the Drift or not. Yeah, so this game kind of jump started the channel a little bit. I missed the thing start. But right, I still wasn't able to fully do like actual content yet, and that I wasn't like ready in making like, I made a review on this game way back when it first released, obviously, but that review is definitely outdated nowadays. Definitely outdated. I didn't have a script at the time. I didn't know how to really make a script for reviews and stuff. I kind of just rambled a little bit, and yeah, especially during the time I was a lot worse rambling, believe it or not. So that video dragged for way too long. But you know, you look at me now, there's a big difference, and this car is definitely not Break to Drift. But yeah, I kind of just adapted a little bit of car builds instead, because this game did have like certain metas and certain cars that worked well with grip handling, worked well with Break to Drift handling. I was more on the grip handling side of things, so I made a lot of grip builds. There was a couple of drip builds I made here and there, but it was specifically made for drift, if that makes sense. This guy is right there. He's probably passed me and won that. So yeah, with this game I kind of just made a lot of grip builds, a massive ton of grip builds. Literally every update this game brought to the table, with the volume updates and stuff, I just kind of grinded the living crap out of them, in which I would make car builds for them. For example, this WRX, I think this was one of the last cars I made a build on before I kind of left the game. A lot of people tend to hate this game in that it didn't do enough to differentiate itself from Heat or do things better, to be fair, which is, you know, obviously fair point, right? I think this game in a lot of ways is similar to Heat's, but at the same time it kind of isn't. But I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of that, because I'm definitely going to make another review on this game soon come. And you know, the handling is definitely iffy with this game. There's certain cars that just cannot grip as some other cars do. There's cars that just cannot break the drift as easy as other cars do, and it's very confusing, on top of the fact that some areas on the map can't work with grip handling as well as break the drift. So I can understand the criticism of the handling within this game as well. But at the same time, right, from a person that specifically does grip handling, the later cars that were added within, you know, updates and stuff, I would say like post volume 5, like, so going to volume 6 onwards, had very fire cars for grip. This was one of the cars, this WRX was one of the cars that had this, that just worked really well while, you know, grip handling. A lot of the Audis, and I think practically all the Audis have good grip handling. The R8, the S5, they all have good grip handling, things like that. The older cars that were like kind of were a thing since launch, yeah, I think you would want to like pass on that. And I accidentally crashed there a second. Let's see if I can keep the second place. I'm not sure. But yeah, man, it's very interesting of what this game did. I think it's very overrated, this game. Yeah, obviously it's not Heat, but it is Heat. So I, can understand why people don't like this game quite much. And obviously the offline mode is kind of obsolete because it's a separate mode completely to multiplayer, right? So there's a lot of different things about this game that just didn't sit right with people, but that comes with just practically all Need for Speed games. It's not just this game, and that's what the beauty of Need for Speed really is, man. I think there's a Need for Speed for everybody, for every type of person. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's going on with the autopilots over here. But before I get into free roam, actually I'll get into free roam, right? Nah, not yet, not yet, not yet. Let me check out my rides real quick, because there's a lot of different things in here. Obviously I'm 50 million, but there was a glitch at the launch of the game. You kind of needed to do it in order to go anywhere within the start of the game, because the economy in the start of the game, like at launch, was just absolutely terrible. So they need to, you kind of needed to do said glitch. But let me check out the rating here. So the start would be, I'll just show you some of the cars here. It's like, I think I have, throughout the game, I grinded a lot of this game when it was getting its updates and stuff. So I have like literally practically all the cars. But obviously there's some cars that for some reason you can't download the full like complete version of the game, like when you like having all the volumes and stuff, volume update cars and stuff. The game just over glitches and crashes for some reason, at least on Xbox. So there's some cars that are just not here, some cars that are. But if you're talking like blacklist cars that are from the lockdown mode, I have practically all of them. It took me a while to get them, because obviously that, but I grinded a lot of this game. So there's quite a bit of different set of cars here that I tried making builds on. There's a lot of cars here, just a lot. I'm kind of just reminiscing, like there's quite a bit of different builds I made, right? Some cars I haven't touched, like, but the majority of the cars I have on my list are cars that I either did for a challenge that I built, or did for a challenge I even touched. And then the others are like cars that I just kind of wanted to use for the sake of saying. For example, this 918 was made for specifically, what's it called? The link up feature in free roam, where it kind of is an off-road type of 918, kind of like something I have in Forza Horizon 3. But yeah, there's just a lot of cars here and stuff like that. But if you're talking about balancing with certain cars and stuff, this game didn't really have any balancing. There was definitely like quite a bit of meta cars within the game, a lot of different meta cars. There are certain cars you kind of need to use within each tier, and it was really annoying. But it was definitely not as annoying as that one car in practically every Ghost Need for Speed that the car was in. 2015, Payback, Heat. You know what I'm car what? You know what I'm talking about. The real ones will know what I'm talking about. But we're gonna do another playlist and leave it off that. But it really comes down to whether or not we're gonna actually get a playlist. So this guy has a playlist going on his A class as well. Not doing that, sorry. Endgame S plus, let's try it. S plus is very iffy. It's the top of the top tier for cars in this game. You kind of need to use brake to drift for this type of flat or tier, or else you're just not gonna do well. But I don't know which I don't know what race is coming up here, but I'll use this F1. It's this sprint race. That's that's all it's saying. Yeah, but this game also had like different types of races. There's speed races, there's street races, which is this is probably what it is, or corner kings, which is like just mainly like corners. And most of the time those are circuits. Some are sprints, but it just really comes down to that. But let's see if I could win this. I don't know. Might have to lock in. I'll take it slowly, so I don't end up like that guy. Oh my god. Never mind. Another thing is too, with the older cars, like the cars that were kind of there from launch, tend to be more bouncy than the later cars. That's how it is. I mean, I feel like Criterion they didn't have enough time to fully get the handling down pat when they were first developing this game to try to get it to release. So that's kind of how things are. That guy just, gee. I also am using like manual shifting as well. For Need for Speed, you don't really need that, but for an extra challenge, I try to do that as well. I think another thing that this game really did well was the burst knots. The burst knots was definitely the best bit, or one of the best bits about this game. If you knew how to utilize it well, in certain situations, you would win literally every race. And it was just like a very like good system. I'm gonna crash again. And this guy just fully crashes into me. No, no, I can't. I guess not. I'm real low here, but I don't know what this, person is trying to do. If I'm not careful, he's gonna crash into me. Yeah, 60% here. I just need that guy isn't in a fast car, so I just kind of need to just lock in here and don't die. This is definitely more of a speed race than a street race. Okay, it seems like we're good. Perhaps. Perhaps not. This final bit is definitely like a little tricky. There we go. It really comes down to your playstyle, whether or not you would want to do grip handling or brake to drift. If you want to use grip handling, you definitely would want to be more patient in how you drive, else you're just not gonna like it. For brake to drift, there's more freedom. Obviously, there's more things you can do, but obviously, if you don't use that right, you're not gonna really win races. So it just really comes down to it. In places like the city, kind of benefits for cars that have brake to drift, as opposed to other bits of the map that would benefit more with the grip handling. So it's just like a very, you know, if we get another Need for Speed, they should definitely set one handling instead of just, right? And that was the end of it. That was the, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was like an endurance type of playlist or something. But anyways, guys, this was Need for Speed Unbound, and very nostalgic game of mine. This game essentially kickstarted my YouTube journey fully, and I'll always be appreciative of that. And yeah, man, I think this game is very, very overhated, and people should just give it another chance, because this game is definitely better than they think. Well, if you look at the multiplayer side of things. Anyways, guys, that's it. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.